After 15 days without food, Richard Chow is eating his first meal.
So delicious! I love this.
The city is finally listening to taxi drivers and their demands for debt relief after a hunger strike.
I'm very glad that we win. We win.
But this victory came after unspeakable loss. Richard's brother Kenny died by suicide in 2018. He was one of 9 taxi drivers who took their own lives that year.
And I'm here to make sure that the 9 drivers who took their lives will not have taken their lives in vain.
In order to drive a taxi, cab drivers would purchase a medallion for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many drivers would go into debt to drive a cab in New York City's heavily regulated streets. Drivers thought purchasing a medallion was a solid investment. But when the city opened the doors to companies like Uber and Lyft, the value of a medallion crashed. Drivers were now losing revenue and were unable to pay back their debt.
The city allowed the Uber and Lyft without buying this medallion, flood the street. No regulation.
Richard and other drivers started a hunger strike to bring attention to the suicides and to demand that the city take action.
We don't get it! We don't get it! I'm taking a hunger strike for Tuesday, the 3rd day, and I feel like a little bit nauseous, a headache, and dizziness, and I feel like I don't have a power to walk.
Richard and a few other taxi drivers had parked outside of City Hall and slept in their taxis, or in rented out vans. They weren't going to leave and they weren't going to eat until the mayor listened.
I don't want to see any driver suicide like my brother and 9 drivers suicide. We must win this fight.
Richard says he blames the city for his financial struggle and his brother's death.
This is all the city make a bubble, city create a bubble, they bust a bubble, let the driver drowning under the water, so we are unable to survive.
Richard and his brother were born in Myanmar and lived in Taiwan before immigrating to the US in 1987. They started working odd jobs. They worked in the jewelry business and made deliveries for restaurants. Then Richard purchased his taxi medallion, the license that allows you to drive a yellow cab.
I bought this medallion 2006, I paid $410,000. I bought from the New York City auction.
Richard borrowed $75,000 from family for fees and a down payment, and signed a 4-year loan to pay off the rest.
Invest the money, I save. I'm making earning from my blood, sweat, and tear. I save the money, I put the down payment.
He thought it was a good investment, and his brother Kenny followed in his footsteps.
I believe that New York City New York City owned this. That's why I put all my money and invested.
Kenny purchased his taxi medallion for more than $750,000 in 2011. Just a few years later, the medallion was worth a fraction of that amount. Kenny could no longer pay his daughter's college tuition, and his wife was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Kenny refinanced his loan again and borrowed even more money. He was now buried in debt.
He lost everything. He's struggling, devastating. He got too much pressure. He lost a retirement. He lost investment. He lost the exclusive right. This medallion is exclusive right. That's why we pay high price for buy this.
On May 11th, 2018, Kenny went missing. Richard later found his brother's cab abandoned near the East River. Kenny's body was found in the river 12 days later. Police ruled the death a suicide. Since then, more taxi drivers have taken their own lives. In October of 2021, Richard and other drivers started protesting outside City Hall. They wanted their loans to be capped at $145,000. They started a hunger strike to show the city that even more drivers were willing to lose their lives in the face of insurmountable debt.
We want our life, we want our future, we can take care of our kid, we can raise the kid, we can take care of our family.
As the hunger strike went on, Richard said he felt weaker and weaker.
Yeah, after I chanting, I get a headache, dizziness, my heart is beating very fast.
As a diabetic, he had to check his blood sugar levels twice a day.
So I checked and then it's okay now, it's okay. It's normal.
He didn't leave the protest site and often slept in a van parked in front of City Hall. Between 2002 and 2014, the price of medallions skyrocketed. Some even sold for more than $1 million. But city records show taxi drivers didn't earn that much more money to justify the inflated cost. Industry leaders artificially raised the price of medallions and created a bubble. They then sold the medallions to immigrant cab drivers, forcing them to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans. Under the last two mayors, the city made $855 million on medallion sales. In 2011, ride-hailing companies started operating in the city, and by 2014, the taxi medallion bubble burst.
We lost all the revenue. Almost we've lost 40–50% of the revenue. We're not making enough money to pay back the medallion.
Now, the drivers were underwater. Drivers, on average, owe about $550,000 in loans on their medallions. Each medallion is now only worth about $100,000.
This is very important for us, for the driver, and 6,000 medallion owner, and plus their families.
Partop Singh has been a taxi driver for almost 3 decades. Partop bought 2 medallions, believing they were a good investment that would help put his children through college. Instead, the value of his medallions has plummeted, and he can't keep up with his bills.
I'm so upset, I can't survive at all. So my daughters many times say me, Daddy, you have a plan, you promised me to, I send you a George Washington University, what can I do now? So still my daughter is waiting for the, good education, but I have no money at all.
Partop's daughter, Jaslyn, had to drop out of college because of her family's financial crisis.
So I ended up having to work while I was in school, trying to find an opportunity to support my family very early on.
Jaslyn also joined the hunger strike.
And our city relies on our labor, but they have also profited over $855 million because of our labor.
After 3 days of protesting, the city still hadn't responded to drivers' demands.
What I want people to know is that this is an aging immigrant workforce. 94% of these workers are immigrants, almost 40% of them are South Asian. And they bought into a system that was supposed to be an American dream. It was supposed to be worth gold. And now so much of that promise has been completely lost because of speculators on markets, bankers, and people who can get bailouts much easier than our everyday workers.
By her 8th day of the hunger strike, Jaslyn woke up with vision loss, intense pain, and nausea. She said her body shut down and she had to end her hunger strike. But Jaslyn continued to protest outside of City Hall. By day 15, Richard was so weak he was in a wheelchair and was taking frequent naps in the van. That afternoon, the announcement came. The taxi drivers had won, and Richard's struggle was a big reason why.
The moral leader of our movement, our brother Richard Chow. These terms mean that our brothers and sisters will no longer have a lifetime of debt.
Richard ate an avocado as his first meal after 15 days. The city had worked out a deal with the largest lender and agreed to cap taxi driver loans at $170,000 and reduce monthly payments. The Taxi Drivers Union hopes that other lenders will follow in the same guidelines.
We save our life and we can continue to go back on the street. We work hard again. We have our life back.
We did it, we win. Thank you. Tell your father we did it.